The poor tailor slapped and killed 7 flies. At that moment, he thought, turns out, I'm so brave, I can take on 7 at once. He even made himself a sign and set off on a journey. After walking for about 3 days and nights, the poor tailor didn't encounter a single person. So he decided to sleep by a well for the night and continue in the morning. That night, a demon came to the well to fetch water. Seeing the wooden sign that said, 1 against 7, he was terrified. Thinking the man was an unbeatable warrior, the demon figured he must not wake him up. But the poor man still woke up. Seeing the opportunity, the demon said the man could fetch water for them every night, and if he did a good job, the demon king would reward him. The man thought this was a good chance, so he followed the demon to a mysterious place. The demon king asked him what reward he wanted. The man said he needed a barrel of gold that would carry him home while he sat on it. The demon king agreed to his request, so he gave him a leather sack and told him to fetch water. But the poor man barely had enough to eat every day, so how could he have the strength to carry such a heavy leather sack? He trembled as he walked, thinking of a trick. In the end, he took a shovel and started digging around the well, digging deeper and deeper until he could take the entire well with him. The demons underground grew anxious when the men didn't return for a long time, so they sent one of their own up to check. The demon asked him why he was digging. The men said fetching water every day was too much trouble, so he planned to take the whole well back with him. Hearing this, the demon immediately stopped him, saying his wife had poor eyesight, and if she fell into the well, it would be a disaster. Then he sent the men to the forest to chop wood. By the time the men arrived, the demon was already waiting. The demon said this task was easy for him. He bent a tree with one hand. The men quickly climbed onto it, but the tree trunk snapped back and flung him into the air. He landed straight into a rabbit hole. Seeing a rabbit running away, he immediately chased after it. Then he told the demon he had leaped across the entire forest to catch the rabbit, but it still got away. The demon thought the man was even more cunning than him, so he went back underground and told everyone to get rid of him. But the men refused to leave, saying he hadn't yet competed against the strongest demon here. The great demon accepted the man's challenge, deciding they would see whose whip was more powerful. Whoever cried out in pain first would lose. The men thought this was a good idea, but he needed to bring his wolf tooth mace. So the two went to the highest mountain. The demon let the men whip him first, but the men said, since he could take on 7 at once, the demon should go first. The demon swung his whip hard, lashing it onto the man's body, but the man didn't cry out in pain. He even said he nearly caught the demon's whip. When it was his turn, the man told the demon to close his eyes, saying he didn't want to blind him. Then he swung his wolf tooth mace and hurled it at the demon's head. A huge lump immediately swelled up. In the end, the men completely conquered the 7 demons. No one was stronger than him. The demon king kept his promise, ordering a huge barrel of gold to be filled. The men sat on it while someone carried him home. When the children saw this, they shouted, "Dad, we haven't had demon meat in so long." Hearing this, the demon immediately dropped the men and the gold, fleeing back to hell in terror and warning his companions, "His kids want to eat demon meat. We need to run."